They tell me that, 15, 20 years ago, they were somewhere in the range of 20,000 independent retailers. After 2008, 2009, they tell me there were 10, 11. They're telling me the last number I heard was 8,000, 8 to 9,000. I don't know if those are accurate, but they're probably somewhat accurate. Your motivation to expand as you have, is that to ensure your longevity? Is it bigger is better, or if not, what?
Well, good question. First of all, the numbers that you quoted are the same numbers that I hear also, that in the big picture it's certainly been approaching, if not 20,000, and it's certainly at or below 10,000. And that's frightening for the independent dealer. And I don't know that we had a plan to be bigger is better ever. I don't think that's ever come into play. I will say that we always enjoyed healthy growth through those years, and we had a good foundation. So when 8 and 9 hit, I was as scared and frightened as anyone else. But thankfully, and I mean truly, humbly, thankfully, we never laid anyone off. Had a lot of pay cuts around here, and it was pretty difficult for us to make it through. But as we made it through, it just, if anything, it continued to cement my approach to we wanted a balanced store. So we looked for those opportunities out there, and to the commercial and retail and cleaning that we had in place with some custom builders. We did some builder, but not a lot. We added that track home builder segment in '09. And that opportunity lent itself to what really allowed us to grow. So I can't say that I ever thought when we started that in '09 that we'd grow like we are today. I couldn't have imagined that or planned for that. But since it's happened, we believe that it's to our advantage to continue to work on those synergies between builder, commercial, and retail, and use one to help prop up and enable the other one to give the customer the best deal we can give. And it just takes a heck of an operation to blend all four of those businesses and make it work.
So the bigger the size in general, across the board in each of those three segments helped you with all the other segments.
It did. Absolutely it did. I think that even though the manufacturers, if we talk about the two largest flooring manufacturers that are located in Dalton, each of their divisions looked at us separately. And they look at every dealer separately. And I'm okay with that because that's how they pay their employees, that's how they're compensated. But I think there is a point where it goes upstream enough that maybe the upper management looks at some dealers and say they're important in all aspects. And I think that helps us to be healthy when we're viewed as a customer in many divisions rather than just one or just two.
It seems like into the future that's going to be more and more important, I would imagine.
I have felt that it is, Dave. It doesn't mean that I was able to see this, but it does mean that I knew that if we had a healthy, balanced store, that we'd knock off the highs and knock off the lows. And in the end, I think that trend that's growing upward by being healthy in all aspects is a good way to be. I believe that.
Talk about the retail sector. What sort of growth have you seen this year in the retail sector, and what are your expectations?
Well, now that's really good. We believe that our retail side has grown pretty good this year, pretty healthy. Part of that is we've updated our showroom a little bit, made a few changes in it and tried to update it, and that's helped. But the consumer is hard to figure in that we had a great spring and a pretty good summer, and then for some reason this fall it fell off. Well, we had a strong competitor come in on that cash and carry and advertise I think it's like a 60 or 80,000 square foot store some 7 miles from here, and it's a cash and carry do-it-yourself. We believe that certainly hampered our business a little bit. But we also know in the last 2 or 3 weeks that in November we've had a very strong business. We think that maybe some of those customers are coming back in now and looking for the full service. So it's been an up and down year for retail, but I will say this, that we have grown retail even with an up and down year. We've grown it over 20%. So that's pretty impressive growth for a year that you'd think would be bad, but we had big expectations for this year. We thought there was a lot of pent-up demand, and we think that a lot of consumers are out there looking for a good value. So I will say our margins could be a little better, but the growth on the sales side's been phenomenal.
How about the commercial sector?
Commercial sector's been a little healthy. It's been good all year long, and strangely enough, here in the fourth quarter, when there again retail's had a good November, our commercial has not had a good November. And I was talking to ourselves. That's what I do day to day, is run the commercial department. I was talking to them this morning in a meeting at 11 o'clock and explaining to them. So I'm not sure what we've missed here in the fourth quarter and why our November's off, but it just seems that we've missed a few of our bigger bids and quotes, and that is because we've worked hard on margins, trying to make margins rise a little. We don't want to work harder, we want to work smarter, make sure we're healthy. So commercially, we've grown about 10% this year. I would have loved to have seen that be a little bit better because I think the market was there, but I'm also proud of the fact our margins have grown as I had hoped they would.
How about the builder sector?
That one really gets me excited when I talk about that one. We've had just the right mix of business. We've got a young man, Mark, who has been running that along with Riley Gazaway, and those two gentlemen have just done a phenomenal job of making sure that we continue to serve the builder as they need to be. We all know that labor's been hard to supply to the builder, not only for flooring, but for painters, for roofers, for framers. Framers especially, builders have really had a hard time finding enough framers. So Atlanta Flooring has worked hard to make sure our service then is good. I think because of that, we've been able to retain and grow with our existing customers. I think there's been a good trust level between us and the existing builder-based customers we have to let us grow with them. I think there's some cases out in the market where if they didn't feel like their supplier could grow with them, they'd have to bring in an additional supplier vendor to meet that need. I'm very humbled and thankful to say that we've grown with ours. So if you look at the Atlanta market, the market's grown considerably with builders. If you look at some of our branch markets like Charlotte, Raleigh, and Birmingham, and now Chattanooga, growth has not been as aggressive, but it's still grown. So if you take our existing customer base, we've grown that some 20%, which is just phenomenal, and that's because our existing customers. Along with that, we've picked up a few customers additionally to it. Maybe builder leaves, maybe a superintendent leaves builder A and goes to builder B, and we've managed to pick up a little business. But honestly, we don't wake up in the mornings and think about trying to find new business, and that's a hard thing to say for a guy who's been fighting all his life to sell floors. What we are trying to do is continue to do a good job servicing our customers and let it continue to be healthy growth.
Gotcha. I understand that the Labor Department is contemplating the way or changing the way they look at an independent contractor, and which may mean very likely, now I guess this isn't cast in stone, but very likely that people who had been independent contractors up to this point will no longer be able to be classified as such and will have to be an employee of somebody or another. What does that mean to you, and what do you think it means to the industry at large?
Well, it's frightening to us, and I think that it's frightening to the whole industry at large. It was something the Labor Department just, I'm not going to say woke up one morning and decided to do, but they certainly changed directions of what had been accepted years prior to that. And so that immediate shift is very frightening to all of us whose industry is based on using subcontractors. That's how we make a living. That's how our store and its employees make a living. And that's how we hope to continue to make a living. But as you said, it may be that we get to that point where the possible reclassification of 1099 or subcontractors is going to move toward an employee. If it happens, it just needs to happen with the whole industry at large so that the playing field will be level. But if it goes state by state and slowly moves across the country, there'll certainly be some states have an advantage over others. Honestly, I don't know where the politics of all that falls, but the end result is very frightening for us, just trying to, us small business owners trying to run a business and make sure we play by the rules. Very frightening.
Certainly change the industry as we know it. Dramatically, I would imagine.
No question it would change the industry. I think the industry, by and large, has depended on subcontractors. Where it goes from here is a lot up to the Labor Department and what happens.
The WFCA concluded a survey, I don't know, a month or so ago, comparing service of independent retailers from the big box players. And they found that service, now they looked at three areas: the experience in store, the experience in home, and the follow-up. Now, and they did this through secret shoppers. And the difference between the independent retailer and the big box players was only 1.5%. The independents came out ahead, but only by that small amount,
Right.
which to me was shocking.
Me too.
What's your reaction to that?
Same with me, Dave. I think that, first of all, let me go back and say the WFC is doing a great job and a marvelous job doing the secret shopper. I think every independent retailer needs to look at that report, needs to understand that report, and see where maybe we have some warts we're covering up some. So we all believe that we give good service. I'd like to think that we give good service, but I think sometimes when the mirror's held up in front of us, we all need to revisit our fundamentals of how you sell, follow up, and make it happen. One thing that report did to us is it made us go back to our residential salespeople and say, how fast are you getting back with a customer on the response? One thing that I think we prided ourselves on was making sure our quotes were extremely accurate, and we should. But maybe the result of that is it might have been taking 1 day extra. So what we've encouraged our salespeople to do, that if you feel like that customer needs an answer, that you need to give them an estimate, and let them know maybe a range of where that thing falls. And if they really want a written sound estimate, then just ask for the extra day. So it made us look at our operation, and I think that it was born out of that report to see if we're really servicing and following up. Since then also, we've hired an additional guy on the back end of our operation to follow up and call the customer and make sure that what we thought was a good job is a good job. So as far as Atlanta Flooring Design Centers goes, it was certainly a kick in the shin or an eye-opening thing to say, what is it that we need to do different tomorrow than we've done today in the last 30 years that will make us a better retailer. So we're trying to do that, and I hope that independent retailers will look at that report and will take it to heart and realize that we must do a better job. If not, the big boxes could easily overtake us.